Before we dive in, the Self-Care to Wellness bundle is coming June 9th through the 16th, and you won't want to miss it. You'll get free access to over 50 resources to help you reduce stress and support your well-being, including my whole life decluttering workshop. Go to positivelyproductive.com/wellnessbundle26. And if it's before the 9th, you can hop on the waitlist. More options doesn't always mean more freedom. Sometimes more just means more decisions, more friction, more of that low-grade mental exhaustion from those decisions that makes everything feel harder than it needs to be. You're listening to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zaratny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a productivity coach certified in positive psychology and stress management. Join me as we explore ways to live a more proactive, positive life, with episodes on productivity, self-awareness, mindset, entrepreneur life, habits and systems, simplicity, fun, and more. I understand overwhelm personally as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, wife and mom to kids and cats, and as a caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Welcome to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and today's episode connects back to one of my first episodes, but we're putting a spin on it. I'm curious, how many times have you stood in front of a closet full of clothes and felt like you had nothing to wear? Or looked at a week full of plans and felt like you had no time, no options? Or opened the full fridge at 6 p.m. and felt like there was nothing to make for dinner? It's not actually about the options, is it? More options doesn't always mean more freedom. Sometimes more just means more decisions, more friction, more of that low-grade mental exhaustion from those decisions that makes everything feel harder than it needs to be. So let's talk about a different approach, one that's been hiding in plain sight in the world of fashion for decades. And once you see it applied to the rest of your life, you'll love how it fits. Pun intended. We're talking about the capsule wardrobe and applying it as a mindset. We're taking it way beyond your closet. So what is a capsule wardrobe? Maybe you've heard of this term. If you're not familiar with it, a capsule wardrobe is a small, intentional collection of versatile clothing pieces that work together. It was intended to be more minimalist, but have so much versatility that it doesn't feel that way ultimately when it comes to putting together the outfits. The concept was developed by London boutique owner Susie Faux in the 1970s and then later popularized by Donna Karan with her iconic 7 Easy Pieces collection in 1985. It was brought up quite a bit over the years in minimalist communities, and the idea was simple. A few well-chosen items that mix and match easily are more useful and more freeing than a closet stuffed with things that only work in specific combinations or specific circumstances. The principles of a capsule wardrobe are pretty straightforward. It's curated over collected, so you choose intentionally and not just to accumulate. It's versatility over volume, where each piece earns a spot by its ability to work with others, to be basic in nature, but so flexible that it elevates it. You mix and match by design. The system is built for flexibility, and seasonal review is built in. So you revisit and refresh regularly, not just when things get out of hand or when you realize you need something else. And what strikes me most about this isn't the fashion angle, though I can attest to the fact that it is very useful, but it's the underlying logic behind it. You're not trying to have fewer pieces simply to be a minimalist. Instead, you're trying to be selective and building a system that works better because it's intentional, because it removes decision fatigue, and because you can get more out of less. And that should sound familiar if you've spent any time with me, because those are my underlying principles of productivity. So let's take the capsule wardrobe and create that mindset that we can apply in other places. If you take those principles and apply them to the rest of your life, what could it look like? This isn't about having less for its own sake. It's about being intentional with what you have and assessing what's pulling its weight, what's taking up space, and whether you can build something flexible enough to work on the good days and the hard ones, right? The whole point of all of the different kinds of techniques that we use here for productivity is that it's sustainable. And that means working for the really challenging days just as easily as the really good days. What I've found, both personally and with clients, is that the places where we feel most scattered and overwhelmed are often the places where we have too much to choose from and not enough structure. And when I think about too much to choose from and the idea of decision fatigue, I think about what's happened in our retail space. If you go down a cereal aisle and you see all of those choices, we think it's so exciting that we have so much to choose from, but most times it ends up simply being exhausting. So our challenge is having too many options and no clear system, and the capsule mindset will give you that structure and the limits you need without locking you in. And I think that's so important, especially for my rebels. I've been thinking about this concept for a long time. It actually played a role in how I developed my flex blocking approach to scheduling, which I'll share more about shortly. If you've been listening since the first season, you may remember that we touched upon the capsule wardrobe back in episode 21 with Hannah Donnelly. You might want to check that out. She tells a great story. She was inspired by her grandmother. She has a lot of practical wardrobe-related advice for you. I think you'll appreciate that. Today, I'm going to apply that really practical, really simple capsule wardrobe mindset to a few different areas of your life, your schedule, meals, and routines. Let's start with your capsule schedule. We're starting here because this one's close to my heart and because it's where the capsule idea of extending it past the closet first clicked with me. Traditional time blocking asks you to assign specific tasks to specific hours, which sounds great in theory, right? You love the structure of it and the planning of it. But when it comes to actually doing it, so many times it feels impossible. Something goes wrong. It can be so tricky because other things that you do, meetings and such, will run long, and then you have to change things around anyhow. Something comes up that you have to cancel what you planned already. Sometimes lack of motivation is what comes up. There are so many ways to get off track. Rigid time blocking can also be anxiety-inducing for some as well. I've worked with a number of clients who've told me that they understand that you need to block time, but they feel so rebellious against it. And that they know that batch processing, which is part of what you can do in a time block, is so efficient, but it feels like so much pressure to them that it brings out their anxiety. We need to build in more flexibility and fluidity into this so that you can keep the stress low, keep the focus high. Flex blocking is the name I've given to my answer to that. Instead of a rigid hourly schedule, you work within a set of intentional time blocks. Think of those as your capsule pieces, and you arrange them based on what the day calls for and what you can handle. Deep work, administrative, creative time, movement, things related to your health, buffer time, right? Rest and space. Projects and tasks become your building blocks. And also that includes things like rest and breaks. The blocks are the same. They're set there. So you have this sliding scale set of blocks, right? Some shorter pieces, some longer pieces, but the arrangement of them shifts around. What you include during that specific day, what order you place them in. You may have similar components ready to go, but the combination is flexible. And so if you imagine that you have so many permutations, that gives you a lot of options without working with a ton of pieces. Interesting, right? If you like that idea and you'd like to know more about the idea of flex blocking, I've linked episode 273 on how to make time blocking fun in your show notes. Go check that out. You can also search for it and any other episode that I mention on the positivelyproductive.com/podcast page as well. You'll find a search bar there where you can put in keywords relating to the title that I mention, and you can also look for playlists. I've put together similar topics in playlists so that if there's one topic in particular that you're interested in, you can binge listen if you want. All right, next up, let's talk about the idea of capsule meals. This is one I live personally, and I didn't realize that I did it until I started putting this idea together. It's made a genuine difference in how much mental energy I spend on food on any given week, reducing it, that is. And it's also great for my budget. Capsule meal planning isn't about following a rigid menu. It's about building a system of core components and intentional overlaps that let you make different meals from similar building blocks. Here's what that could look like in practice. I cook a batch of ground meat, and that one component can become meat sauce for pasta, chili, taco filling, or the base for a Tex-Mex soup, depending upon what else I have on hand, what else is on sale at the store, and what sounds good to me, and how much time I have. Because taco night is one of my favorites for so many reasons. It's one of my emotional support meals, and it's quick. I'll also make extra pasta on a pasta night, knowing that it can become a pasta salad the next day. So this is a little bit of batching, meal prepping, and using similar components that overlap intentionally. It's a bit of a combination of meal prep and batching, and this idea of the capsule mindset because you have components that overlap intentionally and can work together and in so many different ways. Spices can work this way as well. And when you realize the overlap that exists, for example, oregano shows up in Italian and Greek cooking, and also you can use it just because you like it. We put it on our burgers for no other reason than it's really tasty. You only need to shift a few other ingredients to move between them. And the kitchen becomes a lot less intimidating this way. Paprika, cumin, and chili powder are a trio that covers taco meat, chili, and Tex-Mex soup with minimal adjustment. Oh, the idea of the classic French mirepoix. So onion, celery, carrot, that's the basis for soups and chilies and different kinds of sauces. Well, the Cajun Holy Trinity is only one vegetable different. Instead of onion, celery, carrot, which is the mirepoix, onion, celery, and bell pepper are the Holy Trinity. That shifts you into more of your Cajun style meal. So all you have to do, you can have the carrots and the onion ready to go, grab yourself a bell pepper, and now you have the start of a jambalaya. Add in rice and different components like chicken and shrimp, and you're good to go. So it's a one ingredient swap, but completely different culinary options. The concept is less about what you make ahead and how you're meal prepping, but more about how you approach what you have and what you have prepped. Modular meals are combining in multiple ways. Again, you have fewer select components, but they create more options for you. All right, the third thing we'll talk about is your capsule routines. And this may be the most personal application of the capsule mindset, and one I don't think gets talked about enough. Most advice about routines treats them as fixed sequences. Do this, then that, every single morning, often at a specific time or early enough before everything else. There's a lot of advice around morning routines. We've talked about it on the podcast. I'm not the biggest fan because I'm not the biggest morning person, but I respect it if it works for you. Where I'm challenged by it, and especially in protection of my clients and my audience, is that there are some rigid perceptions about it I don't like. The idea that you need to do things at a certain time in a certain way and that the steps need to be longer to be effective, I say no. That framing sets a lot of us up to feel like we're failing before we even start, and it makes us more likely to give up on our routines. What I suggest doing instead is a sliding scale approach. My morning routine isn't a checklist I complete from top to bottom, and it doesn't have to be at a specific time in the morning or even in the morning. It's a curated set of practices of varying effort and time required that I select from based on my energy, capacity, and timing available. So every morning can look a little different, but I get in what's important. This is where that 80-20 rule comes into play, right? You get 80% of the way where you need to go from 20% of your input. If you think about your morning routine in that way, you can tighten it quite a bit, especially on days that need it. But you can expand when you have more time and energy. So on a full energized morning, I might move through a bigger set. But on a hard day or a short one, I go with my simplest and most essential practices. The routine works because it was designed to flex. And even if it's a short sequence, I've completed the pieces that have the most impact. Think about what that might look like for you. What are 3 or 4 practices that, when you do them, make you feel most like yourself, most energized, most grounded, most confident? Those are your capsule pieces. Everything else is optional. As with every other system, the capsule approach isn't a one-time build. It's a living system with seasons built into the design and the review of it also built in. Just like you wouldn't wear the same wardrobe pieces year-round and expect them all to serve you the right way, your schedule, your meals, your routines need that same seasonal review. That's something else we've talked about on the podcast as well, is how your life demands different things in different seasons of it, whether it's a season of your entire life or an actual season of nature. And again, this doesn't mean an overhaul. And you don't have to have an overhaul when you build in review. It does mean reconfiguring for the right fit, but that's a good thing. What worked in a busy season might need to shift when you have a slower one, or vice versa. What serves you in winter will look different than what works in summer. The capsule approach works with that. It's designed to be revisited and recombined. You have components that are set for different seasons, and then you pick and choose and you move them around. It's a little bit like puzzle pieces, but puzzle pieces that can change the picture. So as seasons change, ask yourself questions like, what's still working for me right now in this season? What needs to be swapped out? What new piece might serve me better, at least for now? Are you ready to build your own capsule in life? As I wrap up this episode, I want to leave you with something to consider. What one area of your life could benefit from this capsule thinking? Take stock of what's a true fit for your life right now versus what's just taking up space without a good reason, or what feels like too much. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this, what you thought of this episode, this idea. Did the analogy resonate with you? Can you see where you might apply these principles? Message me with your ideas and questions. I would love to have this conversation and explore this more. I know it's a little different, but I think it's a really wonderful entry point to the idea of doing more with less. You can find ways to connect with me on my Connect page of the website, positivelyproductive.com/connect, or find me on social media and DM me. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this approach to personalized, hustle-free productivity, I have many more episodes like this and a lot of overlap in terms of the concepts that we're talking about. So you can see the different ways to apply them, the different techniques to pick the ones that work for you. Even in productivity, you can have a capsule mindset. Be sure to check out the solo episode playlist on the podcast page at positivelyproductive.com/podcast. I'll link it in the show notes along with other episodes I mentioned today. And if you want to build systems that actually fit your life and you're ready for more support with that, coaching can help. Find out more about working with me at positivelyproductive.com/coaching, and I'll be here when you're ready. Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. I hope this episode inspired you, and I encourage you to think about one action you can take based on today's topic. Then share it with me so I can cheer you on. Go to positivelyproductive.com to connect with me, read blog posts, and access links from each episode and download resources.